Hi, this is Judy from Bungalow Quilting and Yarn, and I want to talk to you today about directionality in paper piecing. Here is a paper piecing block that I have done for a little contest that we're having at the shop. It's a picnic basket. And the direction of these stripes is actually perfect and appropriate, which is not hard to do when you have a paper piecing pattern that is straight, that the piece actually is straight. You can lay your straight piece, you can lay your stripes directionally, and it's not hard to do. You can see that these pieces over here are solids, so when these were placed on an angle to this piece, there isn't going to be an issue because it's a solid piece without stripes. Now, if you wanted the pieces up here in the background to be directional, say you had a piece of fabric that was directional that you wanted to put up here and you see that you have an angle, it's going to be a lot more difficult to decide how you're going to lay that fabric. And this is what I want to explain today. So here I have the paper piecing pattern itself. This is the back of this, because if you've done paper piecing before, you understand that you're sewing on the lines. You're not sewing on the actual fabric. The fabrics are placed, and that is for a different video. That the directions for how to actually do paper piecing are outside the scope of this little clip that I want to show you in terms of directionality. So let's assume for this video that you already know how to paper piece, okay? So here is my piece that I have here in the middle, the background piece for the handles of this picnic basket, which is this piece right here, okay? And because it's A1 and it's the first piece, you don't have to worry so much about directionality with it. You just lay your piece on there in the direction that it's supposed to be going. These are the handles. They did not need to be directional, but this part now is going to need to be directional. You can see that I have a bird fabric, and I put the birds so that they are directional between the handles. That was A1, but I'm going to want the birds on the other ones, the other side pieces, to be going in that exact same direction, and I don't want them flying on an angle. I want them flying straight. So what I did was you take your ruler and you draw straight lines on your piece, because that's the direction you want your directional piece to go. Now, if you were going to put stripes in the background, most people would say that that's super risky to do stripes with a paper piecing pattern. But since I have a line of stripes coming out from Studio E Fabrics, I really want to emphasize that you can use stripes in paper piecing, and this is how you do it. So if this was the direction you wanted your stripes to be, you're simply going to draw your stripes or your directional lines on the back of your pattern, which is the side, actually, coincidentally, that you are sewing on. You're sewing on the side with the lines. So place your stripes in the direction they want to go. If you wanted them going the other direction, you'd make perfect stripes that direction. You're going to fold your pattern onto itself along that line, because this is the seam line between this piece and this piece. Again, like I said, this is for people who already know how to paper piece and understand that. So here's my basket handle. That piece is covering A2. Now I need to add this side piece here. I've drawn my directional lines on there for the direction that I want it to go. I'm going to fold it back against itself. Now I'm going to lay my next piece that's going to be the fabric that's covering that piece, that is going to get sewn to this basket handle. It gets sewn to that basket handle. I'm going to turn this back, and then I can see my stripes through my paper. If it would help you, you should go over to a sunny window or to a light box and hold it up there, and then hold your piece of fabric against right sides together with your other piece. And then you are going to make sure that those birds are flying exactly in the direction of the lines that I've drawn. If there were a striped fabric, you would make sure that your striped fabric, the stripes were going exactly in this direction. Now I can see that my birds really are going perfectly in that direction. This piece is large enough to cover that whole piece, okay? This is the piece here. It ends here. So my piece of fabric is going to cover that paper piecing section of the pattern. Then I'm going to put pins along here. Okay, so I've pinned my piece, and I'm going to sew on that line, needle stop down. I'm going to sew because my pieces are right sides together, and my bird piece is actually in the right direction, same direction as those stripes. We've made our stitch length short so that it perforates the paper at a more frequent interval. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So now when I flip this over, my birds indeed are going exactly in the direction that I wanted them to go, and they're going straight. You see that? So there is the trick to making your directional fabrics work in paper piecing, and don't shy away from using directional pieces in paper piecing. Okay, so the next fabric that I want to use is going to go right here, and that's this piece right here. And you can see that it too has directionality to it. So this is actually the piece, and you can see that it is going to be my first piece that I lay on there. So that's not going to be a worry, because I can simply take that piece and put it right in the center, and the directionality is not going to be a problem. I will then add B2 and B3 of my handles, and that is not necessarily a directional fabric either that I'm going to worry about. But now here and here will also be the same fabric. It'll be this piece, okay? And you can see from this, it'll go here and it'll go here. Now there is going to be an issue with directionality because I'm sewing on an angle. So once again, I'm going to take my lines with my pencil and I'm going to draw straight lines across this piece and across this piece. Now this is the background piece. This will be the birds once again. So that I'm going to have to, even though it's teeny tiny, I might just choose a piece from the birds that's got a large space for background, and maybe there won't be many birds in that piece, so it really won't matter so much. Or if there is a bird in that piece, then the directionality is going to matter there too. I just haven't decided what I'm going to do about those yet. For now, I know that this is going to have lines on it as well, because when I turn this back onto itself to fit my piece, I'm going to have this going in the right direction. I don't want this to turn out on that piece on an angle. Okay, so here's my piece. And then the right side or the wrong side of that piece is going to be on the wrong side of the pattern piece, because remember, we're stitching on these lines here. And then we're going to lay the handle pieces right sides together. But this is what I was saying about directionality with that first piece. I'm going to press this better too. The directionality won't be an issue because you know you've cut a straight piece. And this is, it's the first piece. So you're just laying it on there straight, and you're making certain that it's straight before you start sewing that next piece on, which is B2 and B3. Okay, so now this is what we have so far. We have the section in the middle, and then the two handles, and then I've drawn my lines on the back here because this is the direction that I want this piece to go in. So I know that this piece is going to be big enough. Now this is going back to basic paper piecing, which I said I wasn't going to do, but because I've laid this on here and I know that it covers it, so it's plenty big. So when I flip this piece back, I've got this one folded already. Okay, so when I flip this piece back and I lay it like this, there's another way of knowing that that piece is big enough, because the piece falls within the lines, and you can see them when you hold them up to light. It falls within the lines of the area in which that piece is going to cover. So here is my here are my straight lines that I've drawn, and those straight lines have to be going the same direction as the lines on the fabric. If this helps you, like I said, to hold it to a light box, even holding it to your iPhone where the light comes up from behind works. That way you can see that the straight lines will go the same way as the lines on the fabric. So hold it up to a light box or your iPhone or a sunny window and make sure that these lines are going the exact same direction as these lines here. Then you open it out and you stitch on that line. And when you do that, you're joining the handle to this piece, you flip it out, and that should be going in the same direction. All right, so here is my next piece. It's going to be the piece that goes down here. Again, that's not going to be a problem with the directionality, but this piece over here on the side is, because this is the piece that I lay in there first. So here's the pattern, Okay, so that piece is the first piece, then these get joined to that first piece. So there's no big deal about having a problem with directionality with that piece. That's not going to be a problem. This is the piece that I'm going to use for that. And there's a grid on this. In fact, it's called Grid by Ruby Star Society. And so I'm going to have no problem doing that. But then I'm going to be drawing my lines on here. And I want to show you what I did accomplish with this other piece. That is the top of the basket. Here I drew my lines, and look how nice and straight across this turned out to be. And it is a directional fabric. So it works out really, really well if you just take a little extra time to draw those lines. These birds are all flying in the same direction. This piece up here was not a problem because it's a separate piece, and you just have to lay it straight, cut it straight, and lay it on there. But these presented a challenge. So yeah, this is how you do it. You draw the lines, you put it together, and you end up with pieces that are directional, and you should not be afraid to use stripes and directional fabrics in with your paper piecing projects.